Global Mission Vision Fellowship, and we are here on every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. So we love to see all of you in person. Just come and join us at A461 Garden Grove, Blvd, Garden Grove City, California. And let us continue with our story and our series in the book of Daniel. And today we are in the book of Daniel chapter 8. And the topic that we are going to share together with you is that vision in the turbulent times. And last week, and every time that you always see that I share something here on the screen, but there are certain times that I speak about it, I explain a little bit about that. But today, I will also talk more about that from the vision. And what is this about? Last week, we were talking about the 4 beasts in the book of Daniel chapter 7. And I also give a short introduction about the meanings of these 4 beasts. And we also see the similarity in the book of Daniel chapter 2 about the vision or the dream that King Nebuchadnezzar had. So we saw about the 4 beasts. The first one is the lion with the eagle's wings. And I have explained to you that this represents for the empire of the Babylonian or the Babylonian empire. It represents the might, the power, and the fast expansion of this kingdom. And after that, we also learn about the second beast, that is the bear that raises up on one side. And we also begin to see this bear represent about the middle, right? The middle and the Persian Empire. When they talk about that it's raised up on one side, meaning to say that one side is taller or higher than the other side. And I explained to you the reason why it's called as the Middle and Persian Empire. So for those who have not heard about that, we know that Cyrus the Great, he was the grandson of the Persian king. But at the same time, his mother is the princess of the Median nation. So in other words, when he conquered Median, he doesn't want to just absorb or destroy this Median kingdom because of his love for his mother. And his grandfather was also the king of Median. So at that time, he just combined the two nations together and to form as a Middle Persian Empire, in which it doesn't need. They can just simply call it the Persian Empire. But because he wants to honor his mother and his grandfather, and he doesn't want to destroy that nation, so they combine together. So we see there's a lot of similarity, and we're going to go back a little bit after that. And the third beast that we saw in the book of Daniel chapter 7 is the leopard with the 4 wings and the 4 heads. And we also explain that this represents for the Greek Empire. So we are going to talk about the Middle Persian Empire and the Greek Empire today a little bit more. So I'm going to save it later on. So it is associated with the Greek Empire under Alexander the Great. And the 4 wings also signify the rapid expansion of this Greek Empire. And we are going to see later on the 4 heads also could represent the division of the empire into 4 regions and under the 4 generals. And the last beast that we saw is the terrifying beast with the 10 horns that represent or associated with the Roman Empire. And after that, the 10 horns also represent about the 10 kings that take place under the Roman Empire. And then we are going to see the little horn become more powerful. And what is that little horn is about? In a moment we will talk about that more. And then we see the throne of the Ancient of Days. And we see that the kingdom of God will never be destroyed even though different kingdom comes and fall, and God is still in His control. Today, let us go to Daniel chapter 8 and talk a little bit about vision and the importance of vision in my life, in your life, and in the life of everyone. Daniel chapter 8 verse 1 said, "In the third year of King Belshazzar reigns, I, Daniel, had a vision, after the one that had already appeared to me. In my vision, I saw myself in the citadel of Susa, in the province of Elam. In the vision, I was beside the Ulai canal. I looked up, and there before me was a ram with 2 horns, standing beside the canal, and the horns were long. One of the horns were longer than the other, but grew up later. I watched the ram, and it charged toward the west, and the north, and the south. No animal could stand against it, and none could rescue from its power. It did as it pleased, and became great." I was thinking about this. Suddenly a goat with a prominent horn between its eyes came from the west, crossing the whole earth without touching the ground. It came toward the 2-horned ram I had seen standing beside the canal, and charged at it in great rage. I saw it attack the ram furiously, striking the ram and shattering its 2 horns. The ram was powerless to stand against it. The goat knocked it to the ground and trampled on it, and none could rescue the ram from its power. The goat became very great, but at the height of its power, the large horn was broken off, and in its place 4 prominent horns grew up toward the 4 winds of heaven. Now, also take note of this very important verse. One of them came another horn, which started small but grew in power to the south and to the east, and toward the beautiful land. It grew until it reaches the host of the heavens, and it threw some of the starry hosts down to the earth and trampled on them. It set itself up to be as great as the commander of the army of the Lord. It took away the daily sacrifice from the Lord, and His sanctuary was thrown down. Because of rebellion, the lost people and the daily sacrifice was given over to it. It prospered in everything it did, and truth was thrown to the ground. Then I heard a holy one speaking, and another holy one said to him, "How long will it take for the vision to be fulfilled?" The vision concerning the daily sacrifice, the rebellion that caused desolation, the surrender of the sanctuary, and the trampling underfoot of the lost people. He said to me, "It will take 2,300 evenings and mornings, then the sanctuary will be reconsecrated." In the 3rd year of King Belshazzar, this is the vision that Daniel had seen. And maybe when we learn about this is the 3rd time we saw the same vision being described in different ways. So if we talk about the accuracy of this vision, and today when we talk about this vision, especially about the ram and the goat, or we can also call just like as a unicorn, right? The one that just have one thorn like this. So you can see about the picture, the illustrated picture. And here we see the first image here is about the ram that have 2 horns. So what is the meaning of this ram? And why does it have 2 horns? And then after that, these 2 horns also being destroyed by the goat, right? What is this about? Now, if we still remember about the bear that also rise or raise up on one side. In the same way, we see that this ram also have two horns, but one horn is taller or larger than the other horn. So many researchers and even theologians also believe this vision is speaking to the Middle and the Persian Empire. And we can see last time with the explanation about the bear symbolizes the strength and the ferocity. And it's also represent the strength and the ferocity of the Persian Empire. It talks about the massive strength, and it signifies the brute force and the dominion of this Persian Empire. Its aggressiveness and the protective nature of the bear, also talking about the aggressiveness of this Persian Empire. And we learn it talk about the Middle Persian Empire, and this is depicted as a formidable big bear. And here we are going to talk about the ram here. It talk about the strength, the aggression, and we know that God have used even Cyrus the Great in order to bring some grace and mercy to his people, of the Jewish people in those days. But when Cyrus the Great unified the Persian and the Median kingdom, they also have conquered many nations. And the three ribs that we learned from the last week in the mouth of the bear, and this once again is also being repeated in a different ways. And these three ribs is could represent about the biggest battle that the Persian Empire or Cyrus the Great that they have won over these Babylon, Lydia, and Egypt. So it could be the representative of those meanings. So we also remember about the dream that Nebuchadnezzar have seen about the chest and the arm of silver. And I also explained to you the chest and the arm of silver also signifying about the Middle and the Persian Empire. So it had these two combinations. And this also tells us the silver may mean that even though the Persian Empire was powerful, but its glory and wealth were not in comparison with that of the Babylonian. And the duality of the chest and the arm suggests the joint nature of the Middle Persian Empire, or the combination of the Medes and the Persian. So we see once again Daniel by himself begin to see another vision. And the reason why it being repeated, even though in different ways, simply because God wants to say these things for sure would happen. And it's happened. It did happen. And more things are going to happen even after that. And after that we see about the picture or the image of the goat. And this goat is very powerful. Daniel said, as I was thinking about this, suddenly a goat with a prominent horn between its eyes came from the west, and crossing the whole earth without touching the ground, it came toward the two-horned ram I have seen standing beside the camel, and charged at it in great rages. And now, once again, that you and I are going to see that it attacked the ram furiously, and striking the ram and shattering its two horns, the ram was powerless to stand against it. And the goat knocked it to the ground and trampled on it, and none could rescue the ram from its power. Now, take note at this one in verse number 8. The goat became very great, but at the height of its power, the large horn was broken up off, and on its place 4 prominent horns grew up toward the 4 winds of heaven. Again, when we talk about the biblical prophecy and about the symbol, we cannot say exactly what does it mean. Of course, through the history now we saw the history had happened, and we see we can explain this meaning. This large horn represent who? Alexander the Great, the one who established the Greek Empire. And at the height of his success, he died at the age of 34. So this represents, and then after that is also talk about the four, and is divided into four prominent horns. And then toward the four winds of heaven. What does it mean? Let us look from the history. So we are going to see what does it mean, or we can find the better explanation from that. Now, last week we also talked about the leopard with the four wings and the four heads. Once again, we talk about the characteristic of the leopard. It symbolizes speed, agility, and ruthlessness, rapid and strategic conquest. And its feet exactly with the characteristic of Alexander the Great. He is a wise man. He is very strategic in his conquest, and they move in speed and agility. It's all talking about the precision, the cleverness, and the military genius. And is known for adaptability in diverse environment. And we know that that's why today Greeks culture or even philosophy still continue to spread throughout the Western world and the nation because of its adaptability. So it can adapt into different environment, into different culture and background. So we talk about the image of the goat here is also associated with the Greek Empire. And the four wings in the leopard also mean the widespread or the speed. In the same way, now we are going to see about the four heads represent the four divisions. It's just like the image of the goat, right? When the large unicorn or the large horn was broken, immediately it come out with the four smaller horns. What does that mean? From history, we know that after the death of Alexander the Great, what will happen? After 200 years of rule, the Middle Persian Empire came to an end in 331 BC. As Alexander the Great took the victory, the large horn, as I said, broken represent Alexander the Great, dead at the age of 33. Sorry, a while ago I talked about 34. And his empire was divided into four regions. This is the accuracy of the prophecy, as you can see. First of all, Cassander, the first general or the first ruler, he ruled from Greece and Macedonia. The second general, his name is Lysimachus. He rules in Asia Minor. And the third one, maybe most of the time we heard about the third one and the fourth one, Ptolemy Soter, who ruled in Egypt and Palestine. And Seleucus Nicator ruled in Syria, Babylon, and east to India. So you could imagine how vast the Greek Empire in those days. And it happened exactly the division of geography, but at the same time the four generals. And it's also happened exactly when Alexander the Great, he died at the young age of 33, at the height of his success. And then it is divided into four regions, and it represents in the scripture today as the four winds of the corner of the world. And once again, this will also talk about the dream that King Nebuchadnezzar had seen. And it's also represent exactly the meaning about the bronze may refer to the military prowess and their weaponry that make the Greek dominant and expanding the empire in many parts of the world. So I'm not going to mention about the achievement of all the Greek Empire or the Medo and Persian Empire, because we learned about that last time. But let us begin to remind ourselves a little bit about the four heads, like I shared. First of all, it represents about the four general and the division of the geopolitical region. But at the same time, the forehead, it could also mean about the influence of education and philosophy of the Greek to the nation. This is another explanation, because we can see that Greek was known for Hellenistic culture, philosophy, art, and language, and it still influenced to many nations of the world even today. From the structure, architecture, from philosophy, education, principle, or even in the technique of war, in government, we see that the Greek has influenced many nations of the world. So maybe this also another meaning that the four heads here also represent not only the general, but also talking about the ideology, the philosophy of the Greeks. It is so powerful that influenced the world even until today. But in the midst of those things, changes, the kingdom rise and fall. One thing that we need to remember, just like Daniel, just like Habakkuk, that we need to have the vision of God in the turbulent time. Here, Daniel said, he had this vision. He saw this vision. And then he also see that there would be something, or we call the little horn, that you are going to see from here. In the later part of their reign, when rebels have become completely wicked, a fierce-looking king, a master of intrigue will arise. He will become very strong, but not by his own power. He will cause astounding devastation and will succeed in whatever he does. He will destroy those who are mighty, the holy people. This talk about the Antichrist. And if you read carefully, because next time I'm still going back, because we talk about the temple is going to rebuild. So you are going to see here in Daniel chapter 8, Daniel prophesied that the rebuilding of the temple. And to make this a very quick point that we can see, today they already appoint the high priest in Israel. And this is very strange. They don't have the high priest for more than 2,000 years. But today, someone already been appointed as a high priest. And they already prepare every element of the temples. They even prepare the daily sacrifice, that what being spoken here. That the daily sacrifice is going to be established. And maybe if I remember, maybe about 7 years ago, they already had this kind of daily sacrifice to let the world know that they are ready to rebuild the temple every time. And today, the Levite or the priest, the team of the priesthood, they have been trained for many years in order to perform the daily sacrifice. Not only that, they prepare to build up the temple of Solomon within weeks, not months, because everything is prepared. So the vision of Daniel is being revealing or open in front of our eyes. And when, according to Daniel chapter 8 here, we see that when the temple was being rebuilt, the daily sacrifice being established and performed, then the Antichrist will appear. At that time, there will be a lot of turbulence that we just read right here. But today, as we close with the vision in the turbulence, even in the midst of so many destruction, in the midst of so many abominations, in the midst of the desolation, even in the midst that the Antichrist will rise, they will sit in the temple of Jerusalem. They even claim themselves as God. It's just like they just said, they exalt itself as high as the Prince of Hosts. And of course, the Prince of Hosts is Jesus. This is the rising of the Antichrist that you and I are going to see in a very short time. But in the same way as an application for our world today, that we are going to see, and we already have seen and experienced, this is a time of moral decline. This is the time of evil rise. This is the time of blasphemy have been increased. This is the time of anger and violence. This is the time of chaos and lawlessness. This is the time of opposition and persecution. This is the time that we see the wrong take the place of the right. And the people, young people today, do not even know what is right and wrong, right? And one of the biggest evidence that we can see that they cannot even distinguish if they are male or female. That's funny. They even believe or accept that they have even more than 72 genders and unlimited, and that's why they call LGBTQ and then plus, because as long as they discover more, they will add more. They don't know, and they cannot recognize even sign. And we are living in the world of fear and pain. We are living in the world of betrayal and hurting. And if you and I do not have the vision, we could easily be stumbled. We could easily fall into the trap of the enemy. We could easily walk away from the presence of God. If you and I do not have the vision to give you the insight or to provide us the action and the solution to the vision, we inspire people for action, then we would be easily to be passive. We may say that I love God, I go to church, but nothing being done after that. Vision today, we need to pray in this turbulent time, in this time of sadness, in the time of depression, in the time of it seems to be very hopeless. We need the vision of God just like Daniel had. And it is the vision of God that brings him the guidance and the motivation. It is the vision of God that brings him the insight for the future. And it takes him the solution or continue to remind him to go with the godly ways. It is a vision that gives him the wisdom to understand and to explain to other people. It is a vision that even saved him from the attack of the enemies. And in the same way, today, brothers and sisters, if we don't have the vision of God or the dream of God, and if we're not burning on fire for God, we could easily be driven away from the presence of God and go into the world. So let us remind ourselves today that in this troubled time, in this desolation time, you and I need to have the vision of God. We need the dream of God. And God has promised in the last day, He is going to pour out His power, His Spirit. And even the young, the old people will begin to see dreams and begin to prophesy. So let us begin to believe in that and begin to challenge our children, our family members, our church member, our friend, begin to dream for God. So that the vision will give us the insight for the living. The vision will provide us the solution or the wisdom for our action. And the vision of God will continue to guide us in every step so that we can walk in the godly way and not the wicked way. The vision will give us the motivation and continue to save us from the attack of the enemies, the temptation of the world. And we can see, for example, in the book 1 Samuel chapter 28 verse 15, when Samuel passed away, Saul was shaken to the core because he could not know anymore about the will of God. And that's why he looked for a witch doctor and to console and to call Samuel up. And this story will explain to us that without the vision, the people will perish, as Proverbs said. Why have you disturbed me by bringing me up? I'm in great distress, so sad. The Philistines are fighting against me, and God has departed from me. He no longer answers me, either by prophets or by dream. So I have called on you to tell me what to do. In other words, Saul had no vision. He had no direction. He had no guidance. And he is in great distress. And in the same way today, if we don't have the vision of God, we could easily be in distress. We don't know what to do. We don't know where to go. Jeremiah chapter 33 verse 32 in the same way said, "Indeed, I am against those who prophesy false dreams, declare the Lord. They tell them and lead my people astray with their wicked lies." In other words, without the vision of God, the people will go astray. They will continue to live in lies and in deception. I did not send or appoint them. They do not benefit these people in the least. Without the vision, the people will be at loss. Without the vision, and you can see from the story, the Lord Jesus came when he was born. Without the vision from God, Joseph and Mary would not know what to do in order to escape from the persecution or the murder of King Herod. It is the vision that we can see. He said in Numbers chapter 12 verse 6 said, listen to my word. When there is a prophet among you, I the Lord reveal myself to them in vision. I speak to them in dream. God is speaking to every one of us today. And this is the scripture that you and I need to remember as we close. Where there is no revelation, the people cast off restraint, but blessed is the one who heed the wisdom instruction. Another translation said, where there is no vision, the people will perish. And I pray that you and I will continue to hold on the vision, and it is the vision that God has given. Even a few people, even the situation, whatever it is, I'm still smiling, I'm still happy, I'm still strong, I'm still moving on because I have the vision. And I know, just like Habakkuk said, even though the vision may be delayed, but it will come to pass. And I'm going to see the vision, the goal, the passion, the burden will come to pass.